Well, last time on Rocket Roundup, we focused on 3 student athletes who have come back from injury and are once again excelling at their individual sports. Their stories you may not have known, but if you follow Rocket Athletics, or even if you live in the greater Northwest Ohio area, you most likely know the story of Rocket distance runner Janelle Noe. What you may not know is how her story has progressed from tragic to inspirational in less than 2 years. It was at this house on Dorchester in January of 2016 where the story begins, and quite possibly where life could have ended for Janelle Noe. She suffered second and third degree burns over 50% of her body after another UT student set her on fire while performing a stunt with alcohol.
I remember right after it happened, I just literally thought my life was ruined.
Noe had to endure an excruciating amount of pain and multiple skin grafts. Here she is 8 months after the incident, wearing compression bandages on her upper body.
I just want to thank everybody who supported me and given me prayers through this.
But throughout her recovery process, even in those difficult early days, and even though she could barely walk, Janelle focused on running.
I would always think in the future, try to think of 2 years from now, where you hope to be. And so I kind of just used that to drive myself to try and better myself every day.
You know, I remember when she first came home from the hospital, and she would make her mom bring her here. And, she could walk only a couple minutes, honestly. She could get up and walk for a couple minutes. She was still bandaged and wrapped up. And, almost her whole body is wrapped up in gauze, and she'd make her mom bring her over here and get out of the car and walk for 2 minutes and then get back in the car and go home. And I remember visiting her at her house, and she was telling me oh, I went over to Wildwood today and went for a walk. And I was like, you're crazy. I love it, but I think she just, is kind of therapy for her.
And eventually, in time, Janelle would walk, then jog, then run. At first, it wasn't easy.
So last year was really tough. She was getting back into it, running, training again, and she was racing and not racing as well as she wanted, and she'd get frustrated and, break down sometimes. And I just had to keep reminding her, you're so early in the process. You just got to continue to take baby steps, keep going forward, and you'll be fine. And then she'd be like, you're right, and she kept reminding herself of that and stuff. And so this year, towards the end of the summer, I was like, yeah, Janelle's going to factor for us.
I just felt like last year I was just going through the motions of trying to get into some sort of shape. I didn't feel as athletic as I had, and so this is the first point since then that I actually feel strong and athletic and again, so it's really exciting.
But that excitement would be tempered, missing meets during an unseasonably warm fall.
She has some asthma, and during the heat it really kicks up, so even a couple races we just didn't even run her because we knew it was going to be bad for her asthma, and so we just sat her.
But then came the MAC Championships in mid-October with temperatures in the 40s.
The weather was nice and cold, and I am a cold weather runner, so getting out there, and it was the first race in a long time where I actually felt like I was actively racing the entire time.
So it's literally been a couple of years maybe since you felt as close to normal maybe as you felt before your accident. Would you say that's fair?
I don't feel completely back to normal, which I'll never be able to, but that was the first time that I definitely felt just more like myself, I guess, in a race.
Seeing where she was positioned in the race and how she looked, at that point I was like, yeah, something's going to happen today for Janelle.
For the senior who nearly lost her life less than 2 years ago, and for the runner who had not finished among the top 8 on her team the entire year, Noe finished second on the team and 15th overall. Her best performance since the incident, helping the Rockets to a runner-up finish.
I didn't know where I was in during the race, place-wise, but I knew I was in the top quarter, I guess I should say. So when I found out I was top 15, I was super happy. And so and then I found out our team got second, so then I was really happy. So at the end of my race, one of the girls just came up to me and was just I finished, and all I could think about was Jan, and how amazing she did. And it's just moments like that where I'm the people around me, just whether they know it or not, randomly at the store and stuff, and we're oh my God, it's so cool to see you, at the grocery store. People will be oh, you're Janelle, right? And I'll be yeah, and they're oh, it's so inspiring. So when I hear that coming from even just random people, it's really helps me, you know, like, oh wow, I'm making like an impact, even though I don't know it.
And that's something she hopes to continue in the future.
I often think, like, tried to get into a mindset after everything happened, like something it had to happen for a reason. So like I try to think of it as a way to kind of like inspire people, and to like I hope to use it in like my future job to like, because like I'm going to school to hopefully go like physical therapy school and everything. So like I'm hoping to use it when I'm in like my field to be like, hey, like, you know, I went through this and like this is how, you know, I got through it, like you can get through whatever you're going through. And so like I just try to use it to help others as well.
100%, she's an inspiration every day, you know. I mean, if you're somebody on her team, you know, and you're having a tough time with running, I mean, you got to think to yourself like, you know, all right, Janelle's doing it, like I can do it, you know what I mean? And just seeing how hard she works, you know, how dedicated she is to it, how invested she is, I think that alone is inspiring.
A postscript to this story, Janelle plans to continue running after school, and if prior indications are indicative of future results, she'll be tough to beat. Case in point, back in July, she competed and won the female division of a 15K race up in Traverse City. More than 250 total runners competed, and her time was among the top 20 overall.